Hi, I'm Brian from CaliKites, and today I'm going to show you how to change a leading edge bladder on a kite. So what we have here is a 2021 Duotone dice. It's a 13 meter, and a customer had a micro leak on it, and he brought it in and threw it on our floor, and he said, fix it. So we're going to fix it. The first thing you want to do is unroll the kite, get it as clean as you can if you're doing it inside. And the second thing, if you're over 21, is you want to grab a beer, which I'll do now too. So once you've got your kite laid out and you got your beer poured, take your first sip. And then you're ready to get started. What you want to do is start with one edge right here. And pretty much every kite out there is the same exact way of doing it. So the edge is tucked in here. And what you want to do is stick your finger in there, pull the Velcro out, and then pull this thing out. And in there, you'll see your bladder tip. So get that thing nice and loose. And then come back over your leading edge here. If you have a jump valve like this one, you want to push that in. So open this Velcro, push this dump valve all the way into the kite. Like that. And then we'll take care of the leading edge tap. And then we'll have to undo all the struts because nowadays everything is pretty much a one pump system. So you got to remove all these pieces, which we'll do next. So for this, you can just unscrew this here. And then push your leading edge valve down. And then as long as you're here, you might as well unzip this. This is what you're going to use to put the new leading edge bladder in and pull the old one out. Now you take another sip of beer. And get a small flathead screwdriver with a pretty sharp tip on it. And that's what we're going to do to remove all the struts. So the dice has 3 struts, so we got to do this 3 times. So come over here, stick your screwdriver in like that, and then just kind of twist, and it'll pop it off. And some of them rip right out. Some of them are stubborn, like this one. So I'll just spin it around. I'll get the other side also. And then both sides just pull apart. Like that. And then you have to be careful if these are old, but this one's so new and this rubber is so good, you can just pull pretty hard here and it'll pull it right off. And then you take this valve and just like the other one, you push it in. I was having a little bit of trouble getting this out. So if you get frustrated, just reach down. Remember, you got a beer right here. Let's have a sip. And then I grabbed a pair of channel locks. I'm just going to use the channel locks to push this bladder in right here, this valve, just to give us some room so we can push it in. So there we go. And then you want to just put it in the rest of the way, like that. And then do that for all 3. Now that you've got all your 3 struts off, then you want to go back to this side. And you're going to do the same thing. It's the same on both sides. So reach in there with your finger, unvelcro it. Pull out the wingtip. There you go, you got that. Now we're ready to pull the bladder all the way out. There's 2 schools of thoughts with bladder installation. One is you take a string and tie it to the both sides of the leading edge, and then you can pull the strings through, and then when you reinstall your bladder, you put the strings back on the end and pull them back through. I think that way sucks, so this is the way we do it. Just pull it straight out. So you got one side totally out. And you don't have to be gentle with it. We're going to throw this bladder out anyway and recycle it, whatever you want to do with it. And then we're going to do the same thing to this side. There we go. So there's your old bladder. And then you definitely have a sip of beer. Cheers. Now you take your leading edge, your new one, and then you're going to prepare it to be put in. So the first thing you do is unroll it. And then I do it in 2 halves. So get this half nice and straight. Make sure your valves match up with the kite on how you're going to put it back in. So, got our kite sitting like this, and you want the valve to be on the bottom of the leading edge. So right here, I've got the valve on the top of the leading edge, so I got to spin the whole thing around because I opened it like a doofus. And then the deflate valve is now on this side, right there, so we know we're doing it right. So now that you got your leading edge ready to go, you got to fold it up. You want to be careful and take your time. Make sure the leading edge is really flat, because if it's twisted at all, you're going to end up having to redo the whole thing, and it's going to take you a bunch of beers to get this whole project done. So take your time, make sure it's nice and flat, and then what you do is take it and fold it onto itself like this. And again, making sure this is nice and laid out, no wrinkles. And there's your deflate valve. It should be facing up, just like all the other valves. And just keep folding it over onto itself. And once you get to the middle, you can stop there and then go to the other side. It's going to be the same exact thing. Okay, so now your leading edge bladder should look just like that. Then you should have another sip of beer because you've been doing a great job so far, so cheers. And now you don't want any air in there at all. If you have air in there, when you put it in, the air is going to start to push it in all sorts of weird directions. So I'll move this down, and now I'm going to lay out the kite. Match the leading edge. So we don't have that much room to pull the whole kite across because we've got a bunch of stuff in here. So we'll just do half at a time. And then again here, you want to get your kite as flat as possible. The last thing you want to have is the leading edge bladder to twist when you're putting it into the kite. So I really take my time, make sure everything's really flat. And even here where it twists, make sure you got the twist as flat as you can get it, because the valves have to go right there. Now we have to raid the closet and find a broomstick. Now we've got trusty red, and you want to start on one wingtip and go all the way down the kite. So put the pole in the hole, and then again, when I'm doing this, before I start bunching the kite up, I'm going to make sure it's twisted all the same direction. So then you want to pull the kite towards you, and again, try and keep it as straight as possible, no twists. So I'm going to keep this seam on the right side. Now that we've got the bladder inside the leading edge, what we're going to do is attach the bladder to Big Red over here. So making sure you don't mess this up and turn that around. We've got that face the right way. And some people make a mark on the top or whatever. We'll just remember that the flat side's on the left just to see it when we pull it out. But now we take some packing tape, whatever you've got, and then just tape it to the end of this broomstick here. And I fold it over a little bit here, just so that it's easier to get off when you pull it out. Okay, now you're ready to pull the whole bladder back through the kite. So you want to do this very carefully and very slowly. The slower and more carefully you do it, the less the chances of you having to do it again. And by the time you're done. Okay. So now we start pulling it, being careful that everything's straight. So you can see it's already starting to twist a little bit. So we'll angle this a little better. Make sure it's straight here. I've got Jake here, and Jake's gonna pull Big Red nice and slow, and I'm gonna feed it in through this way, making sure it doesn't turn. Give her. And then while we do this, I'm gonna kind of move up. We're just trying to make the kite get nice and straight. And make sure the bladder's in there nice and straight. So now we're to the dump valve. Keep pulling. Make sure that goes in nice. Now we're at the first strut valve. Keep pulling, Jake. After I get a couple valves in there like that, now I'm just going to go down the kite like this and make sure that valve is still straight up and down. So it is. I can feel it right here. So we're nice and straight still. I'll check back on that. So keep pulling, Jake. Fucking hilarious. Okay, now Jake's to the end, and we can check to make sure that it's not twisted. So, we're done with you. We're done with you.
I think I twisted it.
Looks good. So the straight part is on the left side. So pull out Big Red, and now I'm gonna pull this slack out. And I'm just gonna do the same thing that was in here before. So I'm just gonna take the leading edge like this, the tip, the wing tip, fold it over onto itself. The Velcro side is here. I know the Velcro is in here on that same side, and stick it back onto itself. You definitely want to make sure the Velcro is on top of the other Velcro so that it's not going to come flying out, and then you're going to have to do another leading edge repair. And you can start this video over. So now we're going to feel where the valves are. So I can feel there's one right here, and that feels like the strut valve. So I know the strut valve's over here, the dump valve's over here. I mean, the dump valve is probably right around here, which it is. So now we're going to keep pulling it down. Now I'm actually pulling the valve from inside of the kite. And when you get close enough, you can put your finger in the hole over here, grab the valve, being careful not to twist. Now I'm going to pull the whole leading edge by the valve down. Now I've got that cap right here from the valve, and I'm going to pull the cap out. So now I've still got some material you can see in there, which means the kite is still, or the bladder is not pulled over to the side enough. So I'm going to grab here and pull the bladder from inside of the kite and move it down. But now I know the bladder is facing the right way because the valve is face up. And now there's a little lip on the valve, which I'm not going to pull all the way up. I just kind of want it sticking out of there a little bit, because if you get it up there and you have to redo the whole thing, then you have to start from scratch. So I'd rather just have it nice and easy. So now I'm going to feel for that other valve, which is right here. It's got to come this way so I can pull the kite this way. And then when you get close, pull this valve through the leading edge. Yeah. And then again, it's the same exact thing. I'm not going to pull the valve all the way out and up, because I'm not going to make it difficult if I mess this up. So I just take it from here, and then the trick is a little bit weird, but to get this back onto here, what works the best is just lick it. And then once you do that, it just slides right on over. So I'm not gonna get it all the way down there. It is all the way down, but I wouldn't be crazy concerned about it because you definitely want to inflate it before you get everything totally set. Okay. So now, take another sip of beer because you earned it. Same exact thing, but to the other side. Don't worry about the inflate valve. This is going to be the last thing that gets put in. So I'm going to move everything over here so we can work on the other half of the kite. I don't really want to move the kite around too much, so I'm just going to swing the whole thing down and try and keep it straight. Now the same thing. Straighten the leading edge of the kite out and get it ready to pull. Okay, you've got the seam all the way on the left. Everything looks to be pretty straight. Now we're going to grab Big Red. So take away your old tape and make sure you're straight. Throw her in. And the same thing. I'm just making sure that this seam stays on the left. Okay, once you're down here, grab your tape. You're going to do the same thing that you did before. So the valves should be up, which they are. So that looks good. Now I'm just going to tape this. And now the straight edge is to the right. The angled is off to the left. So we'll just double check that when it comes out. Okay, so this is ready to be pulled back through. I'm going to grab Jake in a second and pull it. Now Jake's ready to pull this side of Big Red, and we're going to install this side of the kite. So Jake, grab that side of the kite and start pulling the whole thing back. And I'm just going to make sure that this thing feeds the rear straight. Okay, I'm at my first valve here, so I want to make sure it's straight up, which it is. Now I'm going to do a little valve check because we're pulling a little bit hard. So the valve's right here. It's straight up and down still, which is good. If it's not, I wouldn't try and turn it and figure it out. Just pull it back up and start over. But we're still looking good here, so we'll keep pulling. Hold on, hold on. Okay. So now Jake's going to hold the edge of the kite, the tip of the kite, with the leading edge in there, and we're just going to pull the slack out. So we're going to pull against each other. And I'm hanging onto the valve to make sure it doesn't turn. And again, hopefully you have more room to do this.
Am I pulling, sorry, the bladder more?
Yeah.
Feels like it's stuck.
You okay? So now I've got the valve here, all set. I'm just making sure there's no bladder coming up with the valve, which it looks like there is a little bit there. So I just push this in, move the bladder over a little bit, and then pull this back up. Now we've got the leading edge all the way in there. Now I've got my hand through the hole here, and then I'm just feeling for the tabs, and then I'll push this up, and I want to make sure that the material of the leading edge is behind it, the bladder, and then I want to line these tabs up just like that so they pop out. The bigger tab goes on this side, the smaller tab goes on that side. If you've got it reversed, you got a pretty big problem. You got to start again. So now that I've got it lined up here, I'm going to take the ring just so this part of the kite can't move. So we'll go ahead and lock this valve in right here. And then a big thing you want to remember, which I've done an embarrassing amount of times, while you're over here, make sure you close the zipper. At any point, you need that thing closed before you inflate the kite and test it. If not, boom. Thanks, yeah. So now you're gonna do the same thing with this wingtip. So if you've got any excess bladder right there, you just tuck it in. There's no right or wrong way to do that. And then Velcro folds up into the Velcro side up here. Make sure it's nice and hooked up, which it is. So now we're gonna make sure that the valves and everything is lined up, and then we're gonna inflate it. So I forgot to pull the valves through on these two struts, so hopefully it's still lined up, which it is here. So pull this valve out. Through here, like that. I wouldn't go crazy lining it up, but again, you have to put this on. So again, little spit, and then this thing slides over it. And then one more. Over here, if you've lost the valve or anything, don't worry about this one so much. You can just reach in, because I can't really feel where the valve is. It's behind this strut. So I'm just gonna put my arm in here, grab the valve, and then I'm gonna push the valve through the hole here. So this is the easy valve. And same thing. Don't forget to zip this guy back up. And then what I like to do before I even inflate anything is I like to kind of give the kite the old massage and try and move the leading edge bladder around inside of the leading edge. So you don't want anything to twist or turn. So kind of shake the whole thing. Then close your dump valve. And then when I inflate it, some people I know take the struts and they clip them off. I definitely wouldn't do that. You want to inflate everything into its full shape. So leave those open. Grab your pump and inflate. If you do have any sort of twists in the kite, that's when you can deflate the whole entire thing, get all the air out. Just give it another massage where it's twisted and then re-inflate until it's perfect. If you have a twist in there and you think it's all good, it's gonna blow on you for sure. So make sure that everything is in there nice and snug. If not, pour yourself another beer and do it again. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 shots, sometimes you get it in one. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the water. Cheers.